estimated weight, also stated that the Messenger of Allah gave an exemption for the araya to buy fresh dates according to an estimate of their weight. The Prophet forbade the sale of fresh fruits for dried fruits because the fruits lose weight when they dry. Narrated that the Prophet was asked about selling fresh fruit in exchange for dried, and he said, "Does the quantity of the fresh decrease when it is dried?" The people answered yes, so he prohibited them that action. It is not allowed to exchange a riba commodity with its own genus, two of them together, or with one of the other categories. Said, "I bought a necklace on the day of Khaybar for 12 dinars. It was made of gold and pearls. I separated the gold from the gems and found it to be more than 12 dinars. I mentioned that to the Prophet, and he said it should not be sold until its gold and gems have been separated." Sharecropping. Sharecropping lexically refers to working a field in exchange for a portion of its produce. Specifically, here it refers to a person giving a piece of land to another for him to farm it on the condition that he will get half or some other amount of its produce. Its legality informed him that the Prophet had the people of Khaybar work the fields, with each getting half the produce. That Qais ibn Muslim narrated, "All of the immigrants in Medina used to cultivate the land of the Ansar for a third of a fourth of the yield. The family of all did sharecropping, who supplies the capital needs. There is no harm if the owner of the land, the sharecropper or both of them provide the capital needs. Umar would make an agreement with the people that if he provided the seeds, he would get one half of the yield. If they provided the seeds, they would receive such and such amount of the yield. There is no harm if the land belongs to one of them, but they both spend it on it and divide the yield between them." This was also, as Zuhri's view, impermissible forms of sharecropping. It is not allowed to sharecrop by saying that the owner will receive the yield of a specific portion of the land while the sharecropper receives the yield of another specific portion of the land. It is also not allowed to say to the owner of the land, "I will get such and such produce regardless of the total produce." Right. Who said, My two uncles told me that during the lifetime of the Prophet they used to rent out land and would receive the yield on the banks of the river streams as payment, or from a portion of land stipulated by the owner. The Prophet, though, prohibited that. Handhala said to Rafi, "What if it is for gold or silver coins?" He said, "There is no harm in renting it out for gold or silver. If the intelligent ones study what has been permitted and what has been forbidden, they would not allow that first mentioned transaction due to the risks involved." Also narrated that he asked about renting out land for gold or silver. He replied, "There is no harm in that. The people used to rent out land during the time of the Prophet, near canals or at the end of the streams or for a portion of the fields. What would happen sometimes is that a portion of the produce would be destroyed while another part of the land was fine, or vice versa. Thus there would be no rent for the people. For that reason, it was prohibited. However, there is no harm in renting for something definite and reliable as payment. Al-Musaka. The definition of al-Musaka is wherein a person gives another person some trees to attend to, take care of water and so on, in exchange for half of a specific portion of their yield. It's legality that the Prophet had the people of Khaybar work the fields with each getting half the produce and yield. Also reported that the Ansar said to the Prophet, divide the palm trees between us and our brethren. He said, no. The Ansar, then said to the immigrants, look after the trees and share the fruits with us. They said, we hear and we obey, reviving dead lands. This refers to lands that are not being cultivated. Reviving the land is wherein a people cultivates the land concerning which he knows of no previous owner. He then waters it or grows crops on it or builds on it, making the land his own, similar to homesteading. Islam encourages this type of action. Aisha narrated that the Prophet said, whoever cultivates land that does not belong to anyone has the most right to it. Umar gave that ruling during his caliphate. If someone revives a dead land, it will be for him. He also noted that the Prophet said, if anyone surrounds a land with a wall, it belongs to him. Leasing and hiring, al-ijara, means to give wages or payment with or without a time limit. As a technical term, it refers to owning the usufruct of a person or item in exchange for compensation. Its legal status. Allah has said,